In the case of State of Odisha versus Harinarayan Jaiswal AIR, 1972 SC 1816, in relation to excise revenue, the Supreme Court observed as under. The government is the guardian of the finances of the state. It is expected to protect the financial interest of the state. Hence, quite naturally, the legislature has empowered the government to see that there is no leakage in its revenue. It is for the government to decide whether the price offered in an auction sale is adequate. While accepting or rejecting a bid, it is merely performing an executive function. The correctness of its conclusion is not open to judicial review. We fail to see how the plea of contravention of Article 19(1)(g) and Article 14 can arise in these cases. The law regarding government contracts or auctions and the nature and scope of its judicial review is well settled. In the case of Michigan Rubber versus State of Karnataka, 2012, 8 SCC 216, the Supreme Court observed as under. From the above decisions, the following principles emerge. A. The basic requirement of Article 14 is fairness in action by the state, and non-arbitrariness in essence and substance is the heartbeat of fair play. These actions are amenable to the judicial review only to the extent that the state must act validly for a discernible reason and not whimsically for any ulterior purpose. If the state acts within the bounds of reasonableness, it would be legitimate to take into consideration the national priorities. B. Fixation of a value of the tender is entirely within the purview of the executive, and the courts hardly have any role to play in this process except for striking down such action of the executive as is proved to be arbitrary or unreasonable. If the government acts in conformity with certain healthy standards and norms, such as awarding of contracts by inviting tenders, in those circumstances, the interference by courts is very limited. C. In the matter of formulating conditions of a tender document and awarding a contract, greater latitude is required to be conceded to the state authorities unless the action of the tendering authority is found to be malicious and a misuse of its statutory powers. Interference by courts is not warranted. D. Certain preconditions or qualifications for tenders have to be laid down to ensure that the contractor has the capacity and the resources to successfully execute the work, and E. If the state or its instrumentalities act reasonably, fairly, and in public interest in awarding contract, here again, interference by court is very restrictive since no person can claim a fundamental right to carry on business with the government.